We left off last time noticing that little yes you give automatically before you even realize it. The moment when you hear yourself say yes and immediately afterwards feel the cost of it. So someone asks something of you, expects something of you, or looks at you in a way that implies an outcome. And in that instant, before your thought forms, something happens in your body. Your throat tightens just slightly. Your breath shortens just enough to be missed. Your words lose texture. Your internal sense of me goes a little quiet. And then the agreement arrives. This is the moment people misunderstand most. Because from the outside, it looks like choice. But from the inside, it feels inevitable. What you're experiencing here is not a failure of honesty. It is not a lack of confidence. It is not even fear in the way people usually imagine fear. It is a nervous system interruption. Your voice disappears before you can reach it. Yes, you vehemently agree by saying yes, yet something inside you is fighting, and in that quiet moment, something is still humming inside you, the echo of that unspoken agreement, and the question hanging in the air. It wasn't just in your imagination. Deep down, you sensed a shift as soon as the question was asked. Your throat felt tight, your breath caught, and a silence grew where your voice should have been heard. That single internal second, when you vanished from the conversation, is what this next conversation is about. It happens so fast it feels almost magical. The other person's lips are moving, asking you something. Your mind is just catching up, and click, there's a sudden stillness in your body. It's as if your voice slips back into the shadows where it's safe, and just like that you're unable to reply. This isn't because you're shy, or weak, or mean. It's because your nervous system literally froze you for a moment. Doctors describe situations like this in children with anxiety, noting that the expectation to talk triggers a freeze response, and talking is impossible. In other words, at that instant, your body made itself quiet. When people say, "I don't know why I didn't speak up," they assume the problem is thought-based. That if they had been more prepared, more assertive, more self-aware, the outcome would have been different. But the body doesn't wait for thought. Long before language comes online, your nervous system is already asking a different question. Not, "What do I want?" but, "Am I safe here if I stay?" Attachment systems evolved to preserve connection, not authenticity. Especially in environments where connection once meant survival. You don't have to remember explicit childhood moments for this to be true. The nervous system doesn't store memory as story. It stores it as expectation. Expectation of how closeness works. Expectation of what happens when you disrupt the emotional field. Expectation of the cost of being difficult, slow, uncertain, or contradictory. So when a request lands, your system scans faster than you can track. Is there tension here? Is there risk of withdrawal? Is there pressure to stabilize the interaction? And if the answer is even slightly unclear, the system does what it learned to do. It reduces friction. Voice is one of the first things to go, because voice creates visibility. Visibility creates risk. So the system quiets you, not to harm you, but to preserve continuity. This is why the loss of voice feels bodily. So what just happened, physiologically speaking? The answer is that your brain switched gears before your thoughts even had time to form. During that micro moment, your survival circuits took charge. Trauma and stress specialists explain that in a freeze response, our prefrontal cortex, which allows us to think critically, goes offline, while our limbic system, which drives survival behavior, takes over. In plain terms, your thinking brain went offline and your ancient reptilian brain took the wheel. That limbic system is screaming at you with urgency, "Don't move, or else you'll die." All the information pouring in, the words the other person just said, the plan you were about to make, suddenly can't be processed in a logical way. Immobility is the default. It's your body's very clever survival hack, like a deer frozen in the headlights. The result is exactly what you feel. Your muscles lock up, including the ones that make your tongue and mouth move. The effect can be as simple as losing your voice. One trauma therapist explains that in freeze, you might lose your vocal ability or your ability to articulate anything. Your throat just goes quiet, not because you chose it, but because your body believed it had to protect you first. You might also silently name what's happening to yourself. Even a quick thought like, "My heart is racing," or "I feel cold all of a sudden," can tether you back into your body. This is not talking to the other person yet, it's talking to yourself in your mind, acknowledging your own fear or shock without judgment. This doesn't mean there's something wrong with you as a person. It's not a sign of character, but a reflex. You are not prone to silence. By nature, you were just meeting a moment of sudden perceived threat. Afterward you might scold yourself, "I should have spoken up." But experts remind us it wasn't your fault. Freeze is entirely involuntary. Even if it feels shameful, what you experienced was an automatic response that helped you survive a moment of perceived danger, not a conscious choice you made. It's like reflexively jerking your hand away from a hot stove. It happens before thought. In fact, the mind often looks back and wonders what happened. Why didn't I answer? It can't know in real time, because in that second the survival brain had already won the relay race. So please hear this, you didn't run away from your voice, your body momentarily ran out your voice, to keep you safe. When you do find you're breathing again, it might feel strange that someone asks, why didn't you just say it? If you don't want to do something, why don't you just say so? But remember, at that moment the rational brain was offline. Recalling an expert's words, when someone is frozen, nothing can come into your brain until the frozenness is stopped. It means that demanding honesty in that split second is like trying to pour water into a sealed cup. No matter how loud you talk, the message just can't reach. Forcing honesty can even backfire and widen the gap. If someone pushes you to speak when you're still in shock, it can make your system clamp down harder. As trauma guides warn, trying to convince the nervous system by telling someone you're safe, speak, won't actually reach them. The words simply bounce off the freeze. In fact, a therapist learning about a client's silence might note, don't mistake a loss of speech for unwillingness to speak. It might indicate the person is involuntarily stuck in freeze. So when you're in that stillness, anything you try to say or do might be misunderstood. It's not rebellion, it's a full stop from within. People are told to just say what you feel, as if honesty is a muscle you can flex on command. As if the body will cooperate simply because the mind has decided to be brave. But when you push against a freeze or appease response without safety, the nervous system doesn't feel empowered. It feels exposed. You might manage to say the words, but inside, you disappear further. Your voice may sound firmer, but your body feels less present, less grounded, less real. This is the paradox of forced boundaries. Externally, they look strong. Internally, they can deepen disconnection, because the body hasn't learned that staying is safe yet. Staying, in this context, does not mean holding your ground or insisting on your needs. Staying means something quieter. It means remaining in contact with yourself during the interaction, even if nothing changes externally. So what does staying with yourself look like, instead of trying to force your voice out? Imagine gently turning your attention inward. That might mean closing your eyes in your mind, breathing softly, and noticing the sensations right where you sit. The energy that pushed you toward yes is still inside you, but now you are learning to greet it, not shout it at someone else. Psychologists call this tuning into internal contact. It's as simple and subtle as feeling your feet on the ground, or the slight quiver in your chest, or the way your clothes feel against your skin. It is, in essence, being present with your own nervous system. You are not gearing up to argue, or to justify yourself. You are simply noticing, okay, here is tension in my throat. My heartbeat just jumped. There's no battle with anyone else in this moment, only an inward listening. This shift from outward to inward is the heart of staying with yourself. It means giving compassionate attention to your own experience, rather than chasing after whatever is outside. In practice, that might start in the smallest of ways. The instant you feel the voice slipping away, you might catch yourself before the words tumble out. Maybe you pause a beat longer, and simply breathe. It could be a very soft, or a gentle cough that interrupts the rhythm. These tiny breaks are not failures, they are your body's gift of time. Even a very slow, or a subtle hand movement like touching your neck can buy a few precious seconds. For example, you could mentally say, I'm feeling very scared right now, or my shoulders just got tight. Just labeling the sensation can sometimes lower its intensity, because it shifts the limbic system out of raw panic and into a slight bit of order. Staying with yourself might also look like buying time without explanation, a pause that doesn't justify itself. Let me think about that. That isn't followed by an apology. It might look like delaying agreement internally, even if your words haven't caught up yet. This matters more than it sounds. Because the nervous system learns through repetition, not insight. Each time you stay internally present, even briefly, something new is registered. I can feel this and remain connected. I don't have to disappear to survive this moment. Voice doesn't return through force. It returns through safety. And safety isn't something you tell yourself. It's something the body experiences over time. This is why the idea of finding your voice is misleading. Your voice was never lost in a dramatic way. It went offline because the conditions weren't there for it to stay. Reclaiming it is less like discovering something new, and more like rebuilding trust with a part of you that learned to go quiet for a reason. Another gentle strategy, if you find yourself trapped by your own automatic agreement, remember you don't have to explain or justify that yes right away. If an automatic yes slips out, it's okay to let silence follow. You might simply breathe quietly or keep eye contact without adding words. You do not owe an immediate explanation. The impulse to rush in with excuses like, oh I didn't mean that, sorry, is just your nervous system trying to fix things in panic. In truth, sometimes the brief silence after the yes can do the trick of resetting the dynamic. It's a way of communicating, I'm not done processing this yet, without sounding defensive. You might nod gently, or offer a soft sound, which buys time without closing off the conversation. Each of these small pauses is like stepping on a brake gently instead of slamming it, letting you find your steadiness again. Bit by bit, as you continue to give yourself these moments, your voice will start to find its way back. It doesn't roar in all at once, it returns almost like a distant echo growing louder. Sometimes the first sounds are surprising, maybe a quiet snort of laughter if something absurd happened, or a hesitant whisper, or just a longer pause before you say anything. These small returns of sound are important signals. Your nervous system is realizing that yes, you are okay, you are still alive, and it's learning it can relax a notch. This matches what trauma research tells us. Our voice is tied to our sense of safety. Gentle vocalizations, even just humming or quietly saying them, can actually help calm the vagus nerve, the body's built-in safe signal highway. In a way, using your voice is like patting your body on the back, signaling, we're safe now. If you ever feel able, a soft tone or sigh can resonate inside you and make your system think, okay, and it starts to let go of some tension. It might feel silly to hum at first, but it works as a kind of internal safety anchor. Over time, the system begins to learn that presence doesn't equal punishment. That delay doesn't equal rejection. That being felt internally doesn't always cost connection externally. And gradually, almost incidentally, your voice begins to change. Not louder, not harder, more textured, more deliberate, more yours. You might still choose yes, but it feels conscious now. And when you choose no, it doesn't feel like a rupture inside. The goal was never to become someone who never agrees. The goal was to stop leaving yourself behind when you do. You won't suddenly feel fearless or bold. There's no bright epiphany where all problems dissolve. Instead, the return is slow and quiet. Maybe after a moment, you say the first yes or no that truly comes from you, not the pressured one. Or you might simply share that you were startled. You don't have to make a big declaration or fix anything right away. The resolution here is silent understanding. You might realize, something in me knows what this is now. By paying attention to that freeze and allowing it, by staying with yourself in that silence, you discover a tiny wisdom. You can feel it as it happens. You learn to meet that sensation with gentleness instead of panic. The story of losing your voice isn't dramatic fireworks or a grand solution. It's a quiet, almost invisible shift inside. It's the sound of you listening to yourself. And in that gentle listening, the piece that got lost often finds its way home again. In the silence that follows, you might think, I can feel it. I can feel the pieces of my voice returning. And maybe that's what finding your voice really is. Not forcing sound back into your throat. Not proving anything to anyone. But noticing the moment you stay. The moment you don't abandon yourself when it goes quiet. Because every time you meet that stillness with care, you're teaching your nervous system something new. I'm here. I'm listening. I don't need to disappear. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, that's how your voice returns. Not louder, just truer. If this resonated with you, you're not alone. You can let me know by liking this video, or by leaving a comment about what part stayed with you. And if you want more reflections like this, about staying with yourself, about listening beneath the noise, you can subscribe here. I'm glad you stayed until the end.